As you slowly settle into the quiet comfort of your bed, the world outside seems to fade into a gentle hush. The hum of distant sounds softens and the familiar rhythm of your breath becomes your companion. In this serene space, your mind hovers between wakefulness and sleep, a delicate threshold where reality feels slightly pliable and the ordinary world seems to blur at its edges. It is here, in this twilight of consciousness, that some of the most extraordinary and puzzling experiences occur, moments when the body feels frozen and the mind drifts into a strange otherworldly awareness. Tonight we will explore those moments, not with alarm but with calm curiosity, as we step quietly into the mysterious realm where sleep and the unknown meet. Sleep paralysis, a condition many experience yet few fully understand, lies at the heart of these nighttime encounters. It occurs when your mind awakens while your body remains temporarily immobile, a vestige of the REM stage of sleep, when your muscles are naturally at rest. In this fragile state, some report sensing an unseen presence in the room, a weight upon their chest or a shadowy figure looming nearby. Historically, cultures across the world have interpreted such experiences through the lens of their own beliefs. In Europe, the phenomenon became known as the Old Hag, a malevolent spirit believed to sit upon the chest of sleepers. In Japan it was called kanashibari, a binding of the body by unseen forces. Even in Brazil, tales of the pisadeira, a terrifying crone who pressed on the chests of those who slept, carried warnings of nocturnal visitation. Despite the differences in culture and geography, the core experience remained remarkably similar, suggesting a universal human encounter with the unknown during the most vulnerable moments of sleep. Over time, these experiences were woven into the tapestry of folklore and legend, often seen as warnings, omens, or encounters with spirits beyond our world. Shamans, mystics, and storytellers told of beings who visited the sleeping, sometimes benevolent, sometimes frightening, leaving marks upon the imagination that would echo through generations. And yet, even as the centuries passed and scientific understanding grew, the core mystery persisted. Researchers now explain that sleep paralysis is a neurological event, a temporary disconnect between mind and body. Yet for many, the sensation of an intruder in the night, a presence that feels sentient and aware, continues to resonate with an eerie authenticity. It is a liminal space where dreams bleed into waking life, and the boundary between what is real and what is imagined becomes both fragile and fascinating. In the modern era, the interpretation of these nocturnal visitations has shifted. With the rise of UFO sightings and alien abduction stories in the mid-20th century, shadowy figures in bedrooms began to be described in terms reminiscent of extraterrestrial beings. Could it be that ancient tales of spirits and demons are in some way the cultural ancestors of the modern alien encounter? Perhaps, as we drift further into this story, we will explore that very connection, a journey through human experience, folklore, psychology, and the eerie patterns that link sleep paralysis to tales of beings from beyond our world. The evidence is scattered and often subjective, but it is compelling in its consistency, and it invites contemplation as we glide along the edges of consciousness. Tonight, as your eyes grow heavy and your thoughts soften, imagine the quiet darkness around you not as empty, but as a threshold, a space where stories converge and mysteries linger. The room is calm, the bed is warm, and you are safe. Yet somewhere in the shadows, history whispers of moments when others just like you felt a presence, glimpsed something unexplainable, and wondered at the unknown. There is no rush, no sudden fright, only the gentle unfolding of curiosity, a slow exploration of what it feels like to drift into the extraordinary while the ordinary world sleeps. And so we begin our journey. A journey through the quiet spaces of the night, where ancient tales meet modern mysteries, where the body rests and the mind awakens to wonders both strange and subtle. Together we will explore how sleep in its deepest and most vulnerable states can transform into a gateway, a place where shadows move, where stories persist, and where the unknown brushes ever so softly against the edge of perception. Tonight, you are not just a sleeper. You are a witness, a traveler in the liminal space between waking and dreaming, between reality and the mysteries that have fascinated humanity for centuries. Drift gently, listen closely, and let the story unfold around you as the night itself becomes a companion, calm, mysterious, and endlessly inviting.
As the night deepens and your body sinks further into comfort, the mind enters a stage of remarkable complexity, a delicate dance between consciousness and sleep. It is here that sleep paralysis takes hold, a strange and fascinating phenomenon that has both baffled and intrigued humans for centuries. In this state, your mind is awake, aware, and alert, yet your body remains temporarily immobilized, as though caught between two worlds. The sensation can be subtle at first, a lingering heaviness in your limbs, a fleeting awareness of the room around you. Gradually, it may intensify, producing an almost ghostly sense of presence, a pressure on your chest, or a faint whisper of movement in the shadows. Though deeply unsettling for many, sleep paralysis is a natural and scientifically documented part of the sleep cycle, a temporary disconnect between mind and body that occurs during REM sleep. During the REM stage, or rapid eye movement phase, the body naturally enters a state of muscle atonia. This is a protective mechanism, preventing us from physically acting out our dreams. Essentially, your mind dreams vividly while your body remains still. Occasionally, however, this coordination misfires. The mind awakens before the body is ready, leaving an individual conscious yet unable to move. In this delicate in-between, the brain may produce vivid hallucinations, visual, auditory, or tactile, which can feel frighteningly real. Many people report seeing shadowy figures hovering over their beds, hearing footsteps or whispers in the room, or even sensing an unseen weight pressing upon them. From a neurological perspective, these experiences are explained by the brain's heightened alertness combined with sensory misperception. Yet, the consistency of these experiences across cultures and centuries gives them a compelling sense of reality. Historical accounts reveal that sleep paralysis has long been recognized, though interpreted through various lenses, depending on cultural beliefs. In medieval Europe, sufferers spoke of the old hag, a malevolent witch who would sit upon the chest of sleepers, rendering them immobile and terrified. Japanese folklore describes kanashibari, the binding of the body by spirits or ghosts, often interpreted as a punishment for wrongdoing or a visit from supernatural forces. In Brazil, the paisadeira, an old crone with enormous feet, was said to trample sleepers who awoke during the night, leaving them paralyzed with fear. Even in African and indigenous American traditions, stories emerge of shadowy figures pressing upon the vulnerable, each interpretation unique, yet echoing the same core experience. This universality suggests that sleep paralysis is not simply a modern invention, but a phenomenon rooted deeply in the human condition, intertwined with fear, imagination, and the mysteries of the night. Scientific research has provided a detailed understanding of the mechanics behind this unusual state. Neuroscientists explain that during REM sleep, the brain sends inhibitory signals to the spinal cord, effectively switching off voluntary muscles. This prevents us from physically acting out dreams, but can leave a gap when the mind becomes aware before the body regains full control. The brain, seeking to make sense of this immobility, may generate a vivid hallucination, often one that reflects fear or perceived threat. Psychologists note that the experience can be amplified by stress, sleep deprivation, or irregular sleep schedules. Some describe a sensation of levitation or being lifted from the bed, while others report hearing indecipherable whispers or sensing a presence at the foot of the bed. The phenomenon blends physiology and perception, creating a deeply personal yet widely shared experience. Beyond the physical and neurological explanations, sleep paralysis interacts with the mind in ways that tap into ancient human fears. The darkness of the night, the vulnerability of the body, and the isolation of consciousness combine to create a potent psychological environment. In this state, the brain may interpret ambiguous stimuli as threats. A creaking floorboard, a shifting shadow, or a fleeting noise can become something more significant, more real, than waking perception would allow. Evolutionary psychologists suggest that this heightened alertness during a vulnerable state may have been advantageous, keeping early humans attuned to predators in the dark. Yet, in the modern world, this adaptive mechanism can transform into visions of beings, figures, or presences that defy explanation, often leaving the sleeper with lingering awe or fear upon waking. Modern anecdotal reports highlight the striking overlap between traditional folklore and contemporary experiences. Many who experience sleep paralysis describe encounters that are eerily consistent with extraterrestrial abduction narratives, figures with glowing eyes, an overwhelming sensation of being watched, or even the feeling of being lifted or moved without consent. These accounts, while interpreted through the lens of modern culture, resonate with centuries-old tales of spirits and shadowy intruders. Researchers have begun to note that the content of hallucinations may be influenced by cultural expectations. In societies familiar with alien lore, shadowy figures often take on extraterrestrial forms, while in other cultures, the intruders reflect locally understood supernatural entities. This interplay between physiology and cultural imagination underscores the depth and richness of sleep paralysis as a human experience. While sleep paralysis can be frightening, it is fundamentally harmless. Awareness and understanding of the phenomenon often reduce anxiety, allowing the sleeper to navigate the experience with greater calm. Techniques such as maintaining regular sleep schedules, reducing stress, and practicing gentle grounding exercises can help manage the intensity of episodes. Yet, even when fully understood, the sensation retains a sense of mystery, a reminder that the human mind is capable of extraordinary perception, even in the quietest moments of the night. As we drift further into our exploration of alien encounters and the curious overlap with sleep paralysis, it is this delicate balance between fear and fascination, between science and mystery, that forms the heart of our story. So as you continue to sink into the comfort of your bed, imagine yourself entering this twilight space, where the boundaries of wakefulness and sleep blur. The body rests, yet the mind wanders freely, hovering at the threshold of imagination and reality. It is here that countless generations have felt the invisible touch of the night, glimpsed the shadowy forms that linger at the edge of perception, and wondered at what may lie beyond the veil of ordinary consciousness. Sleep paralysis is more than a neurological curiosity. It is a window into the subtle, profound, and sometimes eerie capacities of the human mind. A space where fear, wonder, and mystery meet in the stillness of night. As your body sinks deeper into the softness of your bed, and the quiet rhythm of the night envelops the room, we begin to wander through the corridors of history, exploring how humans have long interpreted those strange, immobilizing sensations that can visit during sleep. Sleep paralysis is not a modern curiosity. Its presence is felt in stories that stretch across continents, centuries, and civilizations, revealing a pattern of experiences that is both universal and deeply human. Ancient peoples, observing these strange nocturnal occurrences, sought explanations rooted in their understanding of the world, explanations that often intertwined the spiritual, the supernatural, and the cosmic. In ancient Mesopotamia, texts speak of beings who visited sleepers in the dead of night. The Sumerians and Babylonians, whose dreams and visions were recorded meticulously, described entities that could influence or even paralyze a sleeping person. Such encounters were sometimes seen as divine or semi-divine messages, carrying warnings or lessons from the gods. The darkness of the night, coupled with the vulnerability of a resting body, provided the perfect backdrop for these interpretations. A common thread emerges, a sense of an unseen presence, a pressure or weight, and the inability to move, experiences strikingly familiar to those who report sleep paralysis today. Similarly, in Norse traditions, shadowy creatures roamed the dreamscape, often called mare or mara, spirits that would ride the chests of sleepers and induce terrifying visions. The mare was a nocturnal being blamed for restless nights, night terrors, and vivid, often frightening dreams. The folklore emphasized the universality of human vulnerability during sleep, highlighting the delicate threshold between the conscious and unconscious mind. In the Scandinavian imagination, these beings were both feared and respected, teaching that the night was not merely a time for rest, but a domain where unseen forces could intersect with human life. In ancient China, the boundary between the waking world and the realm of spirits was often observed during nighttime rest. Dreams and nocturnal disturbances were interpreted as messages from ancestors or spirits, particularly when individuals experienced an inability to move or sense an invisible presence nearby. Physicians and philosophers alike documented these occurrences, noting the interplay between the body, mind, and unseen forces. While modern science might explain these events in terms of rematonia or neurological misfiring, the ancient interpretation focused on the profound, mysterious ways in which sleep could connect humans to a larger spiritual or cosmic reality. Indigenous peoples across the Americas also recount stories that resonate closely with what we now call sleep paralysis. Among various tribes, shamans spoke of night visitors, beings that hovered over sleepers, sometimes benign, sometimes frightening, imparting visions, guidance, or cautionary signs. These experiences were woven into rituals and oral traditions, emphasizing the thin veil that separates ordinary reality from the mystical. What is particularly striking is the consistency of the description: the weight on the chest, the frozen body, and the eerie sensation of a watching presence, elements that cross cultural boundaries, geography, and time. The Middle Ages brought a more ominous interpretation in European contexts. Sleep paralysis was often ascribed to demonic forces, and the old hag legend emerged from this period. Victims described an oppressive, malevolent figure that would sit upon their chest, leaving them unable to move, speak, or call for help. These terrifying nocturnal experiences were not merely personal, they became communal knowledge, passed down in stories, art, and folklore. Literature and art from the era depict scenes of women and men trapped beneath shadowy beings during the night, emphasizing the visceral reality of what people experienced. Even centuries later, the imagery of the old hag, though perhaps interpreted metaphorically today, still resonates in the way we describe the presence of darkness, pressing close to us while we sleep. What is remarkable across these examples is the universality of the experience. Despite differences in culture, language, and religious belief, the descriptions share core similarities: immobility, a sense of an intruder, and the surreal vividness of the encounter. Anthropologists and psychologists studying these patterns suggest that such shared experiences are not coincidental. Instead, they reflect fundamental aspects of human neurology, consciousness, and imagination, the ways in which the brain interprets a body unable to move, and a mind awake in a state of vulnerability. Yet the cultural interpretations of these experiences were anything but random. They reflect the human desire to explain the inexplicable, to create narrative order out of a disorienting and often frightening phenomenon. Even today, echoes of these ancient interpretations appear in modern accounts. Those who experience sleep paralysis in contemporary settings often describe figures that feel alien, inhuman, or otherworldly, showing that cultural context shapes perception. What was once an old hag, a Mara, or a spirit has become a shadowy alien figure, or a mysterious intruder from beyond our world. Yet the underlying experience, the frozen body, the sense of observation, the boundary between wakefulness and sleep, remains constant. It is a thread connecting humanity through time, a reminder that even in the quiet darkness of our bedrooms, the same mysteries that haunted our ancestors can visit us still. As you lie here, feeling the calm embrace of your bed, imagine these stories softly weaving around you, not to frighten, but to connect you to a vast continuum of human experience. Across time and space, people have shared this delicate liminal state, this encounter with shadows that seem both unreal and profoundly real. And it is from these shadows, from the accumulated whispers of countless nights, that modern narratives of alien encounters begin to emerge. Sleep, it seems, has always been a portal, a quiet, liminal space where the boundaries of consciousness and mystery gently intertwine, inviting us to explore not just the world around us, but the unseen depths within it. As the night deepens and the quiet of your surroundings grows, we begin to move forward in time, from the shadows of ancient folklore to the modern era, when mysterious visitors from the sky captured human imagination in a whole new way. The mid-20th century marked the beginning of what historians now call the UFO age, a period when ordinary nights could be pierced by extraordinary reports of strange lights, unexplainable craft, and beings unlike any found on Earth. It was during this era that the familiar experiences of sleep paralysis began to intertwine with a new cultural narrative, that of alien visitation. Suddenly, the shadowy intruder in the bedroom, the pressure on the chest, and the sensations of immobilization were sometimes described in terms that resembled beings from another world, forever transforming the way humans interpret these nocturnal encounters. One of the earliest and most influential modern accounts occurred in 1961, when Betty and Barney Hill, a married couple from New Hampshire, reported a close encounter of the extraterrestrial kind. Their story, later widely publicized, detailed an experience in which they claimed to have been abducted by non-human beings while driving at night. Though their encounter did not explicitly involve sleep paralysis, it reflected patterns remarkably similar to those reported by sufferers of the phenomenon: sensations of immobilization, vivid hallucinations, and a feeling of helplessness in the presence of otherworldly beings. Psychologists later observed that the account could have been influenced by dreams or hypnagogic imagery, yet the consistency and intensity of the Hills' recollections echoed the experiences described in centuries of folklore, now recast in a modern extraterrestrial framework. The 1940s and 1950s saw an explosion of reported UFO sightings, coinciding with the rise of mass media and global communication. The infamous Roswell incident of 1947, whether fact, myth, or a blend of both, captured the public imagination and fueled a growing fascination with the possibility that beings from distant stars might be visiting Earth. During this period, scientists, military personnel, and ordinary citizens began reporting sightings of unexplained aerial phenomena, often accompanied by feelings of awe and fear. Newspapers, radio broadcasts, and later television shows amplified these accounts, embedding alien imagery deeply into the cultural consciousness. In this context, the ancient experiences of nocturnal paralysis and shadowy intruders began to be interpreted through a new lens. Perhaps these mysterious figures were not demons, spirits, or folklore incarnations, but visitors from beyond our planet. Government interest in UFOs further cemented the connection between sleep paralysis-like experiences and extraterrestrial visitation. Projects, such as Project Blue Book in the United States, were launched to investigate reports of unidentified flying objects. Military personnel documented instances of missing time, strange lights, and unusual craft, sometimes reporting personal sensations of paralysis or the eerie perception of being observed during encounters. While the official stance often leaned toward skepticism, these investigations acknowledged that unexplained phenomena existed and deserved careful scrutiny. Researchers argued that while many experiences could be attributed to natural or psychological causes, a subset remains stubbornly mysterious, a thread that links modern alien encounters to the deep, timeless human fascination with the unknown. Psychologists and neuroscientists began to study the overlap between sleep paralysis and alien abduction narratives, noticing striking similarities. Individuals experiencing paralysis often reported seeing beings with large, dark eyes, sometimes described as humanoid, yet distinctly other. The sensation of weight on the chest, immobility, and a pervasive feeling of observation closely paralleled descriptions from abduction accounts. Some researchers suggested that cultural exposure to alien imagery, in books, films, and media reports, might shape the content of sleep paralysis hallucinations, a phenomenon known as cultural priming. Essentially, the subconscious mind could be drawing on familiar motifs to fill in the blanks created by neurological events during REM sleep. Yet, even as skepticism provides one lens, the sheer consistency and intensity of these reports invite a degree of wonder, as if ancient experiences of the night have simply donned new masks in the modern era. The imagery associated with these extraterrestrial encounters also reflects broader societal anxieties. The Cold War, nuclear tensions, and rapid technological advancement created an undercurrent of uncertainty and fear in post-war culture. UFOs, aliens, and nocturnal visitations may have functioned as symbolic expressions of these collective anxieties. Just as the old hag embodied the fears of vulnerability in the dark centuries before, so too did the Greys and otherworldly beings of the mid-20th century represent anxieties about forces beyond human control. The blending of sleep paralysis experiences with alien motifs illustrates the interplay between physiology, psychology, and culture, creating a compelling tapestry of human imagination at the threshold of consciousness. Even as these reports gained prominence, the personal experience of those encountering unexplained beings in their bedrooms remained intensely subjective and profoundly real. Eyewitnesses often describe a sense of calm fascination mingled with fear, a feeling that the intruder is simultaneously alien and deeply familiar. The narrative arc of sleep paralysis, from ancient folklore to modern alien encounters, highlights how humans have always sought to interpret the unknown in ways that fit their cultural, technological, and psychological context. It is a story that bridges centuries, connecting Mesopotamian visions, European legends, and modern abduction accounts into a single continuum of nocturnal mystery. Tonight, as you rest, consider the quiet transformation of the night over centuries. From ancient shadows to the gleaming silhouettes of modern UFO reports, the experience of being awake yet paralyzed, aware yet unable to move, has remained constant. What has changed are the interpretations, colored by the lens of each era: demons, spirits, shadow people, and finally, extraterrestrials. The night has always been a canvas for the mind, a place where stories emerge in response to vulnerability, imagination, and wonder. And it is within this delicate interplay of physiology and culture that we begin to understand how human experience of the unknown has evolved, and why, even today, sleep can be both a sanctuary and a stage for the extraordinary. As you breathe gently and sink deeper into your bed, imagine the sky above, vast and unknowable, and the long history of humans who have looked upward and wondered at the possibility of visitors from other worlds. Just as our ancestors interpreted the shadows in their rooms, so too have modern sleepers interpreted the strange sensations of paralysis in the language of the stars. It is a quiet, gentle invitation to curiosity, a reminder that the night is full of stories waiting to be remembered, told, and explored. And now, with your mind open and your body resting, we are ready to step closer into the personal, vivid world of eyewitness accounts, stories of individuals who, like you, drifted into sleep and found themselves face to face with the unknown. As the quiet of the night deepens around you, we now step closer to the personal experiences that have shaped humanity's fascination with sleep paralysis and the mysteries of alien encounters. While science and history provide context, it is the vivid, intimate testimonies of individuals that make these phenomena so compelling. Across decades, continents, and cultures, people have described experiences in which the boundaries between dream and reality blurred, leaving them paralyzed yet acutely aware, often in the presence of beings that defy conventional explanation. These accounts, though varied in detail, share striking similarities: a sense of immobility, the feeling of being observed, and sometimes the unsettling presence of figures that feel profoundly intelligent and otherworldly. One account comes from a young woman in the 1970s who described waking to find herself unable to move, yet fully conscious. She felt a weight pressing upon her chest, a sensation that intensified as a small, shadowy figure appeared at the edge of her bed. The being's large, unblinking eyes seemed to study her intently. Though terrified, she recalls an almost hypnotic calm in the presence of this visitor, as if the figure was aware of her fear but posed no immediate harm. Later, psychologists would note that her recollections bore hallmarks of classic sleep paralysis. Vivid hallucination, combined with temporary immobility, yet the precision of her memory and the intensity of the encounter left her questioning whether something beyond neurology might have been involved. Across the Atlantic, a man in rural England recounted a similar experience, occurring in the dead of night during a period of intense stress. He awoke, unable to move, and sensed a presence standing beside his bed. A low hum filled the room, accompanied by a faint, otherworldly glow that seemed to emanate from the figure itself. He felt as though his consciousness had been partially displaced, observing events from outside his body. Despite repeated exposure to media reports of extraterrestrials, he insists the encounter felt entirely real, a disorienting mixture of awe and fear. Researchers studying such cases often point to cultural priming, but the universality of the experience, weight on the chest, immobility, strange beings, remains undeniable. Some accounts even describe telepathic communication, an element that appears in both sleep paralysis and alien abduction narratives. A woman in the American Midwest recalled waking frozen in her bed as a being with large, dark eyes approached her. Rather than speaking aloud, the entity seemed to convey messages directly into her mind, calm, neutral words that described events she could not consciously perceive. The sensation was deeply real and lingered in memory long after she regained mobility. Psychologists argue that these experiences may be manifestations of the brain attempting to make sense of the paralysis and heightened awareness. Yet for those who experience them, the encounters feel as vivid as waking life. It is this intersection of subjective reality and neurological explanation that gives sleep paralysis its enduring fascination. Even more puzzling are reports of sensations beyond the bedroom. Individuals sometimes describe being lifted from their bodies, floated through the air, or transported to strange otherworldly environments. One documented case involves a man in Canada who awoke paralyzed and felt himself moving toward a hovering craft outside his home. He described seeing beings performing incomprehensible tasks around him, yet at no point did he feel physically harmed. Upon returning to consciousness, he retained vivid memories of the experience, complete with sensory details, sounds, colors, and a palpable sense of observation. Sleep researchers note that these reports often coincide with REM intrusion phenomena, where dream imagery bleeds into waking perception. Yet the precision of these accounts, and the commonality of certain elements, continues to intrigue skeptics and believers alike. Eyewitness testimonies also reveal the emotional complexity of these encounters. For many, the immediate response is fear, an instinctual reaction to perceived threat. But alongside fear, often exists curiosity, awe, or even a strange sense of connection to the entity, or entities present. Some describe the beings as silent observers, studying without malice. Others feel guided or warned, as though the experience carries meaning beyond the purely physiological. This emotional duality, fear mixed with fascination, mirrors the timeless responses humans have had to nocturnal intruders. From the old hag of European legend to the shadow figures of indigenous folklore, it is a reminder that these experiences are not merely clinical anomalies, but profound encounters at the edge of human perception. Researchers have long debated the relationship between these eyewitness accounts and neurological explanation. Skeptics argue that sleep paralysis, combined with hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations, accounts for the overwhelming majority of reports. The brain, caught between sleep and wakefulness, projects familiar fears and cultural motifs into a vivid, seemingly real experience. Others suggest that psychological stress, sleep deprivation, and prior exposure to UFO lore amplify these episodes. Yet, even within scientific frameworks, the persistence of common elements, immobilization, weight on the chest, shadowy figures, glowing eyes, and the perception of observation, points to an enduring pattern that transcends individual belief. It is this blend of subjective experience and objective patterning that keeps the phenomenon compelling and credible. Importantly, these testimonies serve not only as documentation of the phenomenon, but as windows into the human mind. They reveal how perception, imagination, and physiology interact in states of vulnerability, and how the boundaries between reality and dream can be both fluid and profound. They also highlight the universality of certain experiences, the fact that similar reports emerge across cultures, continents, and eras, regardless of background or belief. Sleep paralysis, in these stories, becomes more than a neurological curiosity. It is a shared human experience, a liminal space where mystery, fear, and fascination converge. It is here, in these quiet moments of wakefulness within sleep, that the mind can glimpse something extraordinary, whether interpreted as dream, neurological artifact, or something beyond current understanding. As you continue to relax and drift further into the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, imagine yourself in this quiet space of liminal perception, where stories converge and mysteries linger. Picture the countless individuals who have lain paralyzed in their beds, sensing presences both strange and compelling, and carrying those memories into waking life. These are not simply tales of terror, but testimonies of human curiosity and wonder, each one a thread in the vast tapestry of experiences that connect the ancient, the modern, and the unknown. By listening, by imagining, you are sharing in this continuum, drifting alongside others into the threshold where dream and reality intertwine, where the extraordinary brushes gently against the ordinary, and where the night itself becomes a witness to mystery. As you settle deeper into the comforting stillness of your bed, it is natural to wonder how much of what we've explored is shaped by the mind, and how much, if any, might touch something beyond ordinary understanding. This section gently opens the door to scientific and psychological perspectives, inviting reflection without diminishing the mystery. While sleep paralysis and alien encounter narratives have inspired awe and fear throughout history, modern research provides insight into the mechanisms behind these experiences, offering explanations that are both fascinating and grounded in human physiology. At its core, sleep paralysis is a neurological event. During the rapid eye movement, REM stage of sleep, your brain experiences heightened activity while your voluntary muscles are effectively paralyzed, a natural mechanism that prevents you from acting out dreams physically. This state of temporary immobility is perfectly normal, yet it becomes disorienting when the mind awakens before the body has fully reactivated. Neuroscientists explain that the sensations of weight on the chest, the inability to speak, or the perception of being watched are a combination of muscle atonia and vivid, dreamlike hallucinations. The brain, seeking to interpret the discordance between consciousness and immobility, often projects images, sounds, or sensations into the immediate environment, sometimes creating experiences that feel entirely real. Cognitive psychologists have studied these experiences extensively, noting that stress, fatigue, and irregular sleep patterns can amplify their intensity. The phenomenon is particularly common in individuals who sleep on their backs, a position that seems to increase the likelihood of the characteristic pressure on the chest. Additionally, prior exposure to cultural narratives, whether folklore, literature, or media depictions of aliens, can shape the content of hallucinations, a concept known as cultural priming. Essentially, your mind draws upon familiar imagery to fill in the perceptual gaps created by paralysis, producing experiences that feel consistent with the expectations and fears you already carry. Even when understood through this lens, however, the sensations remain profoundly vivid and deeply affecting. Researchers also explore the neurological underpinnings that give rise to specific sensations during sleep paralysis. The brainstem, which regulates basic bodily functions, plays a central role in this delicate interplay between sleep and wakefulness. During REM, inhibitory signals suppress motor neurons, preventing movement, while sensory processing areas can become hyperactive. This combination can create the perception of a presence in the room, an invisible observer, or even a figure hovering near the sleeper. Experiments using brain imaging techniques have shown that areas of the brain associated with fear, spatial awareness, and threat detection can be unusually active during these episodes, producing the sense of imminent danger even in a completely safe environment. It is a vivid demonstration of how the mind constructs reality, blending perception and imagination into experiences that feel tangible. Yet, psychology does not diminish the importance or intensity of these encounters. On the contrary, it provides a framework for understanding why so many people across cultures report remarkably similar experiences. The shadowy figure, the weight on the chest, and the eerie feeling of being observed are not random. They emerge from fundamental aspects of human neurology and consciousness. Cognitive scientists suggest that the brain, in states of heightened vulnerability, amplifies sensory inputs and emotional responses, producing hallucinations that are both immersive and consistent. In this sense, sleep paralysis becomes a window into the human mind, revealing the ways in which perception, expectation, and physiological mechanisms converge to create experiences that feel simultaneously terrifying and compelling. Skeptics have long debated the connection between sleep paralysis and reports of alien abduction. Some argue that media exposure, science fiction, and cultural fascination with extraterrestrials can shape the content of these episodes, producing a learned template for hallucinations. Others highlight the role of suggestion during hypnosis or interviews, noting that the act of recounting experiences can enhance their vividness or alter memory. Still, the consistency of reports across generations, locations, and cultural backgrounds challenges a purely skeptical interpretation. The phenomenon is not confined to any single society or era, suggesting that it arises from universal human biology as much as from cultural influences. Despite the rational explanations offered by science, the subjective experience of those who have lived through sleep paralysis remains profound. Many report a lingering sense of awe, a mixture of fear and fascination, or even feelings of connection to something greater than themselves. While researchers can describe the mechanics, the muscle atonia, the hyperactive brain regions, the interplay of sensory input and expectation, they cannot erase the emotional and psychological impact of these encounters. The mind, in its most vulnerable state, reveals its capacity for wonder, dread, and imagination, offering a space where mystery continues to flourish, even within a scientific framework. Psychologists and neurologists also recognize the therapeutic value of understanding these experiences. By framing sleep paralysis as a normal natural event, individuals often find their fear diminishes, allowing them to navigate episodes with a sense of calm and curiosity rather than panic. Techniques such as controlled breathing, visualization, and sleep hygiene can reduce the frequency and intensity of episodes, providing a gentle sense of agency over an otherwise uncontrollable phenomenon. Yet, even with these tools, the encounters retain a sense of strangeness and fascination, reminding us that the mind's capacity for creating immersive, otherworldly experiences is as powerful as any dream or myth. From a broader perspective, science, psychology, and skepticism do not negate the mystery of sleep paralysis and its link to perceived alien encounters. Rather, they deepen our appreciation for it. They show how human perception operates at the edges of consciousness, where biology, culture, and imagination intersect. In this delicate liminal space, the mind can project shadowy figures, sense presences, and construct narratives that feel as vivid as waking reality. The ordinary and the extraordinary converge, creating experiences that are at once explainable and ineffably profound. For those lying quietly in the darkness, these insights offer reassurance, clarity, and a new lens through which to view the strange, compelling events that can unfold at the threshold of sleep. As you continue to breathe gently and allow your body to sink further into comfort, imagine the delicate interplay between your mind and body during these quiet, liminal moments. The paralysis, the presence, the sensation of being observed, all of these are not signs of danger, but reflections of the brain's remarkable complexity. And yet, they remain experiences that bridge the gap between science and mystery, demonstrating the profound capacity of the human mind to create, interpret, and perceive in ways that are both deeply personal and universally resonant. Sleep, in this light, becomes not just a biological necessity, but a doorway into the extraordinary, a gentle liminal threshold where curiosity, wonder, and calm coexist. As you lie in the gentle stillness of your bed, your mind drifting along the edges of sleep, we now enter a realm where science and folklore meet, a space where conventional explanations give way to the extraordinary. For centuries, humans have sought to interpret sleep paralysis and nocturnal visitations through lenses that reach beyond neurology or psychology. From spirits and shadow people to extraterrestrial beings, these alternative perspectives provide a rich tapestry of interpretation, offering a different kind of understanding, one that blends awe, imagination, and the unexplainable. One of the oldest and most enduring interpretations is the presence of spirits or supernatural entities. Across cultures, from medieval Europe to indigenous traditions around the world, paralyzed sleepers were often thought to be visited by beings from a spiritual dimension. The old hag of European folklore, the Mara of Norse legend, and the Pisadera of Brazilian tradition are just a few examples of entities believed to press upon sleepers, inducing fear, immobility, and vivid hallucinations. Shamans and spiritual practitioners interpreted these encounters as messages or tests, sometimes warning of impending danger, sometimes providing guidance. From this perspective, sleep paralysis is more than a neurological phenomenon. It is a doorway through which spirits, energies, or entities can interact with the human realm. Shadow people, a more contemporary interpretation, have captured the imagination of many who experience sleep paralysis today. These dark, often humanoid figures are described as fleeting presences that lurk at the edge of perception, sometimes standing silently, sometimes moving closer. Witnesses report feeling an intense awareness of being watched, a sensation of dread, and an overwhelming sense of reality, despite the impossibility of movement. Paranormal researchers suggest that these figures may represent consciousness glimpsing another dimension, or the manifestation of unseen energies that coexist with our own. While skeptics attribute shadow people to brain misfires, or the mind's reaction to fear and darkness, the consistency of descriptions across cultures and decades lends them an air of mystery that refuses to be fully dismissed. The connection between sleep paralysis and alien encounters, which we touched upon in earlier sections, also falls into the realm of alternative theories. Some believe that the experiences of paralysis and the sensation of being observed or manipulated may not be purely neurological, but rather encounters with extraterrestrial intelligence. Many who report abduction-like experiences describe small gray beings with large eyes, a sensation of levitation, or involuntary movement, motifs that strongly echo the phenomena experienced during sleep paralysis. Proponents of this theory argue that aliens may use sleep as a convenient window into human consciousness, a time when our awareness is heightened but our physical defenses are minimized. Though this perspective remains controversial, it resonates with those who experience vivid, inexplicable sensations that cannot be entirely accounted for by science. Some alternative theorists expand further, exploring multidimensional or interdimensional explanations. They propose that sleep paralysis occurs when the consciousness momentarily drifts into realms that coexist with our own, allowing glimpses of beings that exist just beyond ordinary perception. In this framework, shadows at the edge of the bed, figures pressing on the chest, or strange lights in the room are not hallucinations, but actual encounters with entities inhabiting parallel dimensions. Folklore, in this sense, is a reflection of humanity's ancient awareness of these overlapping realities, with stories encoded across generations to describe experiences that defy ordinary understanding. While empirical evidence remains elusive, the theory provides a fascinating lens through which to interpret the universality and intensity of these experiences. Hypnagogic and hypnopompic experiences, those moments of consciousness at the edges of sleep, further blur the line between natural phenomena and the paranormal. Many people describe sensations that feel external rather than internal. A tactile pressure on the chest, the perception of being lifted from the bed, or a presence hovering just beyond reach. In alternative frameworks, these sensations are interpreted as interactions with spirits, energies, or otherworldly beings, rather than mere products of the brain's internal processes. This perspective aligns closely with the reports of countless individuals throughout history, lending weight to the idea that sleep paralysis is a liminal state, a threshold where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist. In addition, some researchers and paranormal investigators note patterns in timing and environment that seem to influence the experiences. Encounters often occur during the darkest hours of the night, when the mind is transitioning between deep sleep and wakefulness, suggesting a link between environmental cues and perception. Cultural expectations also play a significant role. In societies where alien abduction narratives are prevalent, reports of extraterrestrial figures during paralysis are more common. In regions with rich spiritual or ghost lore, shadowy or spectral figures dominate accounts. These observations suggest that sleep paralysis is a unique intersection of physiology, psychology, and belief, a stage where imagination and potential realities meet, allowing the human mind to experience the uncanny in profoundly personal ways. Yet, despite the allure of paranormal explanations, it is important to approach them with both curiosity and discernment. While these interpretations cannot be proven through conventional scientific means, they provide insight into the human need to make sense of the extraordinary. They honor the subjective experiences of witnesses, validate the universality of these encounters, and connect modern experiences with centuries of cultural narrative. In this sense, the paranormal perspective does not compete with scientific explanation. It complements it, offering a broader understanding of how humans perceive and interpret the liminal moments of consciousness. As you drift deeper into relaxation, imagine lying in the quiet of your room, the night around you still and soft, and consider the possibilities. The presence pressing gently on your chest might be a shadow of your own mind, a neurological phenomenon, or perhaps, in the quiet of this liminal state, a visitor from a realm unseen. You are both observer and participant, aware and dreaming, your mind attuned to the subtle interplay of fear, wonder, and curiosity. In this delicate balance, sleep becomes more than rest. It becomes an experience of mystery, an invitation to explore the boundaries of perception, and a gentle reminder that some questions are as enduring as the night itself. In exploring these alternative and paranormal theories, we reconnect with a timeless human impulse, the desire to understand what lies beyond ordinary perception. From spirits and shadow people to extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings, these interpretations bridge history, culture, and psychology. They remind us that while the body rests, the mind may wander into extraordinary realms, encountering beings, presences, and sensations that inspire awe, reflection, and curiosity. For centuries, humans have reported these experiences, and tonight, as you rest in the gentle embrace of darkness, you are invited to share in that continuum, to feel, imagine, and wonder, all within the calm and safe space of your own bedroom. Sleep is not merely a retreat from consciousness, but a subtle journey into the mysterious and the unknown. As you continue to sink deeper into your bed, feeling the gentle pull of sleep, it is fascinating to consider how human experiences of sleep paralysis and nocturnal encounters have woven themselves into our collective culture. Beyond personal experience and scientific explanation, these phenomena have left a profound mark on literature, art, cinema, and even music, shaping how societies understand the mysterious and the unknown. The stories we tell about the night, the shadows at the edge of the bed, the weight on the chest, the beings with glowing eyes, are more than entertainment. They are reflections of shared human fascination with liminality, fear, and wonder. In literature, these themes have existed for centuries. Gothic novels of the 18th and 19th centuries often drew upon the sensations of paralysis and nocturnal visitations to evoke fear and suspense. Works by authors such as Edgar Allan Poe or Mary Shelley captured the tension between sleep, dream, and reality, reflecting the universality of human vulnerability in the night. The imagery of oppressive forces, spectral figures, and dark presences pressing upon protagonists resonates with historical descriptions of the old hag and similar folklore. These literary explorations allowed readers to engage with fear safely, to examine the unknown in the secure confines of imagination, and in doing so, they preserved and amplified the archetypes that continue to appear in modern narratives. The rise of cinema in the 20th century brought these nocturnal mysteries to life with unprecedented immediacy. Horror films often draw directly upon the imagery of sleep paralysis, shadow people, and alien encounters, transforming subtle sensations into visual and auditory experiences. Films depicting alien abductions, for example, frequently portray characters as immobilized, watched, and lifted from their beds, a direct parallel to reports of both sleep paralysis and abduction narratives. The depiction of shadowy figures, ominous presences, and otherworldly environments reinforces the universal human fear of the unseen, translating deeply personal, subjective experiences into shared cultural touchstones. In this way, media both reflects and shapes our understanding of nocturnal mystery, creating a feedback loop between imagination, observation, and cultural narrative. Television, too, has played a significant role in normalizing and popularizing these phenomena. Series exploring paranormal events, alien encounters, and unsolved mysteries often present accounts of sleep paralysis, shadow people, and abduction experiences, alongside expert commentary, blending storytelling with quasi-documentary elements. Programs such as these create a communal space where viewers can confront the uncanny from the safety of their living rooms, reinforcing the universality of these experiences while allowing cultural narratives to evolve. The imagery and language used in these shows often influence subsequent reports, subtly shaping how individuals interpret their own nocturnal experiences and creating a shared visual and emotional vocabulary for describing the ineffable. Music and sound design also contribute to the cultural resonance of these experiences. Many composers have explored the tension between wakefulness and sleep, consciousness, and the unknown, through subtle auditory cues that evoke the weight, pressure, or presence described in sleep paralysis. Ambient soundscapes, low-frequency hums, and ethereal melodies can mimic the sensations reported by sleepers, reinforcing the connection between the human mind and the experiences it generates in liminal states. For individuals listening in the quiet of their own bedrooms, these sounds can create a parallel experience, blending calm with curiosity and fostering an appreciation for the nuanced ways culture interprets the mysteries of the night. Interestingly, the cultural impact of sleep paralysis and alien encounters extends beyond traditional media into social networks and online communities. Forums, podcasts, and video platforms provide spaces for individuals to share their experiences, compare accounts, and explore interpretations with a global audience. Stories that were once private or dismissed as imagination can now find validation and resonance in collective narratives, reinforcing the universality of the phenomenon. Eyewitness testimonies, folklore interpretations, and modern alien encounter narratives converge in these communities, creating a rich tapestry of cultural exchange that spans continents and generations. Listeners and readers, even those experiencing the phenomenon vicariously, find comfort in knowing that they are part of a long continuum of human curiosity and wonder. In many ways, the popularization of sleep paralysis and alien encounters in culture serves a dual purpose. On one hand, it entertains and captivates, offering suspense, intrigue, and imaginative exploration. On the other hand, it provides a lens for understanding deep-seated psychological physiological, and emotional realities. Through books, films, television, and online discourse, society collectively negotiates the boundaries between fear and fascination, reality and imagination. These cultural expressions preserve the subtle liminal experiences of the night, translating private, often isolating encounters into shared narratives that educate, fascinate, and soothe, all at once. Artistic representations also reveal how closely intertwined the experiences of the mind and imagination are with cultural symbolism. Paintings, sketches, and digital art often depict figures pressed under shadowy beings, glowing-eyed visitors, or surreal landscapes, evoking other dimensions. These visual interpretations draw from both historical folklore and contemporary alien narratives, demonstrating the seamless continuity between past and present. By engaging with these artistic depictions, individuals can explore the sensation of sleep paralysis indirectly, examining the fear, awe, and wonder it evokes from a safe distance. The artwork becomes both a mirror and a window, reflecting personal experience, while offering a glimpse into the shared human imagination. Finally, the cultural impact of these experiences highlights the broader significance of liminal states in human life. Sleep paralysis, alien encounters, and shadow figures are more than curiosities. They represent the human mind's capacity to explore the edges of consciousness. Through storytelling, visual art, music, and shared narrative, culture allows us to process, interpret, and integrate these experiences into a broader understanding of our world. It reminds us that the night, while quiet and still, is also alive with mystery, imagination, and the gentle hum of possibility. A realm where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist in subtle, enchanting ways. As you drift further into the calm rhythm of your own sleep, imagine the vast tapestry of human culture unfolding around you. The stories, films, artworks, and shared narratives that interpret and celebrate the mysteries of the night. The presence of shadows, the weight on the chest, the glimmer of otherworldly eyes, all of these find their place in the collective imagination, linking you, in this quiet moment, to centuries of human wonder. Sleep, it seems, is not merely rest, but a bridge between the personal and the universal, a space where mystery, curiosity, and calm coexist. Through the lens of culture, we find both understanding and awe, inviting us to continue our journey into the unexplored, the unexplained, and the profoundly captivating mysteries of the night. As you lie nestled in the quiet of your bed, with the gentle rhythm of your breath guiding you towards sleep, we now turn to a realm where mystery meets careful observation. Modern investigations and scientific studies. In recent decades, researchers from multiple disciplines have sought to understand the phenomena of sleep paralysis, alien encounters, and nocturnal visitations with a meticulous blend of curiosity and skepticism. Their work bridges the gap between centuries of anecdotal reports and contemporary evidence-based analysis, revealing insights that are both fascinating and reassuring, yet still leave room for wonder. Sleep paralysis, once a mysterious and often frightening experience, has become the subject of extensive neurological and psychological research. Studies using polysomnography, a method that monitors brain activity, eye movement, and muscle tone during sleep, have confirmed that episodes of paralysis occur during transitions between REM sleep and wakefulness. During REM, the body is naturally paralyzed to prevent the enactment of dreams, yet the brain remains highly active, capable of vivid imagery and heightened emotional responses. Researchers have found that when consciousness arises before full muscular recovery, individuals may experience the classic symptoms: immobility, a sensation of weight on the chest, and hallucinations that feel startlingly real. These studies provide a physiological foundation for experiences that across cultures and centuries have inspired fear, awe, and intrigue. Beyond physiology, modern investigations also explore the psychological dimensions of these experiences. Cognitive scientists have identified factors that increase susceptibility to sleep paralysis, including irregular sleep schedules, stress, anxiety, and sleep deprivation. Interestingly, cultural expectations and prior knowledge of paranormal or extraterrestrial phenomena appear to shape the content of hallucinations, suggesting a dynamic interplay between mind and environment. In some cases, individuals exposed to media depictions of aliens or shadow people report encounters that closely mirror those images. Yet, even when these cultural elements are present, the intensity and realism of the experience can be profound, highlighting the power of the human mind to create compelling perceptions in states of liminal consciousness. One particularly intriguing area of modern research involves the collection of first-person accounts through structured interviews and surveys. Scientists and paranormal researchers alike have compiled extensive databases of sleep paralysis experiences, noting recurring motifs: beings with large, dark eyes, the sensation of being lifted, watched, or restrained, and vivid dreamlike environments that feel tangible and immersive. By analyzing patterns across thousands of reports, researchers have identified surprising consistency, suggesting that these experiences are not merely random hallucinations, but may reflect fundamental aspects of human perception. Even skeptics acknowledge that the recurrence of these motifs across diverse populations points to underlying neurological, psychological, or perhaps even yet unexplained phenomena. Advances in neuroimaging and brain mapping have further deepened understanding. Functional MRI and EEG studies reveal that during sleep paralysis episodes, areas of the brain responsible for threat detection and spatial awareness are unusually active, while motor regions remain inhibited. This combination can produce the eerie sense of being observed or threatened, despite the absence of actual danger. Some scientists theorize that these heightened neural responses, coupled with partial awareness, give rise to the perception of shadowy figures, pressure on the chest, or telepathic communication, translating purely physiological events into experiences that feel profoundly real. The sophistication of these studies demonstrates that even when the cause is understood, the human mind's interpretation of the experience retains its immersive, mysterious quality. Modern investigations have also explored the connection between sleep paralysis and perceived alien abductions. Researchers have compared abduction narratives with documented episodes of paralysis and found overlapping features: immobilization, observation by an intelligent presence, levitation or transportation sensations, and highly detailed visual or auditory hallucinations. Some theorists suggest that cultural exposure to UFO lore may shape these experiences, but the consistency and vividness across cases continue to fascinate. Intriguingly, studies suggest that these phenomena are not simply pathological. Many individuals report profound awe, life-altering insights, or heightened spiritual awareness after such encounters, indicating that the experience, while unsettling, can also carry meaning and emotional depth. Field investigations into sleep paralysis and paranormal claims have complemented laboratory studies. Some researchers conduct experiments in controlled environments, manipulating lighting, sound, and sleeping positions to better understand triggers and mechanisms. Others examine historical and cultural records to map similarities in experience across time and geography. The results consistently demonstrate that while the physiological mechanisms are well understood, the subjective interpretation, whether as shadow figures, spirits, or extraterrestrials, is heavily influenced by context, belief, and expectation. This dual perspective, objective mechanism plus subjective experience, underscores the uniqueness of these encounters. They are simultaneously explainable and deeply mysterious. In addition to individual experiences, scientific studies have considered the broader social and psychological effects. Sleep paralysis is often accompanied by fear, stress, and vivid recall that can linger long after the event, influencing sleep patterns and daily functioning. Researchers recommend strategies such as improving sleep hygiene, managing stress, and learning about the phenomenon as ways to mitigate distress. At the same time, the study of these experiences fosters empathy and understanding. By documenting and analyzing reports, scientists validate the reality of subjective experience, showing that these encounters are neither imagined nor insignificant. They are, instead, a testament to the complexity and richness of human consciousness. As you rest quietly, imagine the careful, patient work of researchers, documenting reports, mapping brain activity, and analyzing cultural patterns. Their work reminds us that the night, though filled with mystery, is also accessible to understanding. Science does not diminish wonder, it reframes it, showing how physiology, psychology, and culture converge to create experiences that are deeply human and profoundly captivating. Even when explanations emerge, the vividness, intensity, and emotional resonance of these encounters remain, preserving the essence of awe and curiosity that has drawn humans to the night for centuries. Modern investigations, then, provide a bridge, a path between ancient folklore, contemporary eyewitness accounts, and objective understanding. They show how sleep paralysis and perceived alien encounters are not simply stories, but phenomena rooted in the complex interplay of brain, body, and culture. Yet within this framework, the mysterious persists. The shadows at the edge of perception, the weight on the chest, the sense of being observed, these remain, inviting reflection, curiosity, and gentle wonder. Sleep in this context becomes a space where science and mystery coexist, a liminal world where the mind explores the edges of reality and imagination. As your breathing slows and your body sinks deeper into comfort, allow yourself to imagine these investigations unfolding quietly around the world. Researchers recording data, analyzing brain scans, listening to first-hand accounts, all of them contributing to a growing understanding of the unknown. And yet, even with all this knowledge, the night retains its magic. The experiences remain vivid, compelling, and profoundly human, a reminder that mystery and understanding can coexist in harmony, guiding the mind gently toward curiosity, reflection, and ultimately, restful sleep.